We were never supposed to lose. That's what they told us. Modern American Army, best equipment in the world, up against a third-rate communist force. Should have been over in weeks. Push them back across the 38th parallel, restore South Korea, go home. Simple, clean, easy. Nothing about Korea was easy. I'm writing this in October 1950, sitting in a tent somewhere north of Seoul. We broke out of the Pusan perimeter in mid-September after MacArthur's landing at Incheon. Been pushing north ever since. The war's going our way now, they say. We're winning. Might be home by Christmas. I've heard that before. Home by Christmas. They said that in 1914, too. Didn't work out that way. My name's William Garrett, Detroit, Michigan. I was a tank commander in World War II. Fought through France and Germany in a Sherman. Made it through that war, thought I was done. Got out in 46, went back to Detroit, got a job at Ford, tried to be normal. Then Korea happened. June 25th, 1950. North Korea invaded the South. Communist aggression, they called it, had to be stopped. Truman committed American forces, sent what we had in Japan, occupation troops, soft from years of easy duty. They got torn apart. The North Koreans had Soviet tanks, Soviet training, combat experience from fighting the Japanese and Chinese. Our boys had occupation duty experience and obsolete equipment. The North Koreans pushed them back, and back, and back. By August, we'd been pushed all the way to the southeastern corner of the peninsula, the Pusan perimeter, a rectangular defensive line maybe 100 miles by 50 miles. Last stand. If we lost Pusan, we'd lose Korea, lose our toehold in Asia, lose the war. They called me back up in July. Stop loss, they called it. Really just, we need experienced tankers, and you're experienced, so get on the boat. I was a sergeant in World War II. Made me a lieutenant now. Tank platoon leader. 5 M26 Pershing tanks under my command. The Pershings were better than the Shermans I'd driven in Europe. Heavier armor, bigger gun, could take on the Soviet T-34s the North Koreans were using. In theory. In practice, everything went to hell once the shooting started. We shipped out of San Francisco in early August. The crossing took 2 weeks. Time to train the new crews, the kids who'd never seen combat. Time to remember what it was like, the noise, the fear, the chaos. Time to realize I wasn't ready to do this again. Nobody asked if I was ready. Didn't matter. We were going to Korea whether we were ready or not. We landed at Pusan on August 15th. The perimeter was under heavy attack. North Korean forces pushing from the north and west, trying to break through, take Pusan, end the war. We could hear the fighting from the port. Artillery, small arms, the sounds of men dying. They rushed us to the front. No time for acclimatization, no time to get oriented. Just, here's your sector, hold the line, don't let them through. My platoon got assigned to a ridge northwest of Daegu. Not much of a ridge, just a slight rise in otherwise flat terrain. But it overlooked a valley the North Koreans needed to advance through. Our job, stop them. 5 tanks, 20 men, against an entire North Korean division trying to break through. The odds weren't great. My crew was a mix. Gunner, Corporal Mike Jennings from Texas, veteran like me, fought in the Pacific. Driver, Private First Class Danny Kim, Korean-American kid from California, barely 20. Loader, Private Joe Torres from New Mexico, never seen combat. Radio operator, Private Billy Wilson from Ohio, another kid, scared out of his mind, but trying to hide it. Good crew. Green, except for Jennings, but willing to learn. That's all you could ask for. The other 4 tanks in my platoon had similar crews. Mix of veterans and replacements. Mix of confidence and terror. We were supposed to be the tip of the spear, the armored fist, the difference between holding the line and collapse. We were just 5 tanks trying to stop an army. August 16th, we moved into position on that ridge, dug in as much as you can dig in a 46-ton tank, set up fields of fire, established communication with the infantry units on our flanks, prepared for the attack we knew was coming. The North Koreans hit us on August 17th at dawn. The attack came out of the morning mist. We couldn't see them at first, just heard them. Engines, tracks on dirt, the metallic sounds of an armored column approaching. Then the mist lifted, and there they were. T-34 tanks, maybe a dozen of them, infantry behind, North Korean flags flying, moving in formation, disciplined, professional. These weren't guerrillas or irregulars. These were trained soldiers with combat experience. Target tank 1,200 yards, Jennings said. Calm, professional, like we were on a training range and not about to fight for our lives. Fire when ready, I said. The Pershing's 90-millimeter gun roared. The shell hit the lead T-34 in the turret. Penetrated. The tank brewed up, black smoke pouring out. Crew tried to bail out. Most of them made it. We didn't shoot them. They were out of the fight. No point. The other T-34s spread out, returned fire. Shells hitting around us, on us. The Pershing's armor held, thicker than the Sherman's. Could take hits that would have killed us in Europe. But we couldn't take hits forever. Traverse right, target tank at 11 o'clock, I called. Jennings was already on it. Another shot, another hit. Second T-34 stopped, track blown off, immobilized but still fighting. Its guns swung toward us. Reverse! Get us back, I shouted to Kim. He threw the tank into reverse. We backed down the ridge as the T-34's shell hit where we'd been seconds earlier. Crater in the ground, dirt raining down. The other tanks in my platoon were engaging. Lieutenant Morrison's tank, the platoon sergeant, veteran from Europe like me, took out 2 T-34s in quick succession. Good shooting. The man knew his business. But the North Koreans kept coming. More tanks emerging from the mist. Infantry advancing behind them. They weren't retreating, weren't even slowing down. Just kept pushing forward, taking casualties, replacing losses, grinding forward. We fought from dawn until noon, 5 hours of continuous combat. We'd stop their advance, they'd regroup and attack again. We'd kill their tanks, they'd bring up more. We'd decimate their infantry. More would take their place. By noon, we'd destroyed maybe 20 T-34s. Lost 2 of our own tanks. One from Lieutenant Morrison's tank, taking a direct hit to the turret, killing him and his gunner instantly. The other from mechanical failure. Transmission gave out. Tank had to be abandoned. 3 tanks left. 3 tanks against an army still pushing. The infantry on our flanks were taking casualties, too. I could hear it on the radio. Units calling for support, calling for ammo, calling for medics. The line was holding, but barely. One more push might break it. The North Koreans gave us 2 hours. 2 hours to resupply, to evacuate wounded, to prepare for the next assault. Then they hit us again at 1400. This time they used different tactics. Artillery barrage first, trying to suppress us, pin us down. Then tanks and infantry together, coordinated assault. They'd learned, adapted. These weren't amateurs. We fought through the afternoon, fell back twice when the position became untenable, retook the same ground when they overextended, back and forth, yards at a time, each yard costing lives, theirs and ours. Danny Kim took a bullet through the vision port. Sniper, lucky shot, or unlucky, depending on perspective. Bullet went through the slit, hit him in the shoulder. Not fatal, but he couldn't drive. We pulled him out, got him to the aid station. Replacement driver came up. Private Hernandez from Texas, even younger than Kim, terrified but functional. By nightfall on August 17th, we'd held. The North Koreans pulled back. Casualties on both sides were heavy. We'd stopped their advance, but barely, and they'd be back tomorrow. We did hasty maintenance on the tanks, cleared the guns, replenished ammunition, We'd fired maybe 60 rounds, used up most of our allotment. Supply was having trouble keeping up with expenditure. Everything was stretched thin. I tried to sleep. Couldn't. Too much adrenaline. Too many memories of the day's fighting. Too aware that tomorrow would be the same. And the day after. And the day after that. This was the Pusan perimeter. Hold or die. No fallback position. No relief. Just us and the North Koreans and the question of who'd break first. August 18th through August 31st blurred together into one continuous nightmare. Attack, defend, counterattack, defend. The North Koreans never stopped, never gave us time to recover, to rest, to think. Just constant pressure, constant fighting. We lost the 3rd tank on August 20th. Crew was evacuating wounded infantry when a North Korean anti-tank team got close enough with a satchel charge. Blew off the track, immobilized the tank. Crew had to abandon it. They made it out alive, but we lost the tank. 2 tanks left in my platoon. Started with 5. Now down to 2. We'd been reinforced, got 2 replacement tanks with green crews. One lasted 3 days before taking a direct hit. The other broke down and couldn't be repaired in time. Back down to 2 veteran tanks. The fighting was different from Europe. In Europe, we'd fight, take ground, consolidate, move forward. Linear progression. In Korea, there was no forward. Just holding the line. Fighting over the same ground day after day. Taking a hill in the morning, losing it at night, retaking it the next day. The terrain was brutal. Korea in August is hot, humid. Inside the tank, temperature would hit 120 degrees. We'd cook in our own sweat, had to crack the hatches for air, which meant exposure to snipers. Trade-off between heat exhaustion and getting shot. The North Koreans adapted their tactics constantly. Learned we were vulnerable at night. Started infiltrating after dark. We'd have infantry attacks on our position, trying to disable the tanks with explosives, kill the crews. We had to mount infantry guards, but we didn't have enough infantry. Everyone was stretched thin. On August 23rd, they overran our position. We were out of ammunition. Supply hadn't made it through. We fought with what we had, then fell back when we ran dry. Left the ridge to the North Koreans. Spent the next 2 days fighting to retake it. Got it back on August 25th. Found what was left of the infantry who'd stayed behind. They'd fought to the last man. Bodies everywhere. Americans and North Koreans mixed together. Some still holding their positions. Died fighting. We buried our dead when we could. Marked the graves. But there were too many and too little time. Most of them just got covered with dirt where they fell. No ceremony. No words. Just covered and forgotten. The North Koreans didn't bury their dead. Just left them. Bodies piling up in the summer heat. The smell was overwhelming. Sweet, rotten, thick. You could taste it. It got into your uniform, your skin, your hair. Couldn't escape it. Torres, my loader, broke down on August 27th. Just stopped functioning. Sat in the tank staring at nothing. Couldn't load shells. Couldn't respond when we talked to him. Combat fatigue. Shell shock. Whatever you want to call it. He was done. We got him evacuated. Replacement came up, Private Jackson from Georgia. He lasted 2 days before getting hit by shrapnel from an artillery round. Not fatal, but bad enough. Another evacuation. Another replacement. I stopped learning names. What was the point? They'd be dead or wounded within days. Easier to just call them by their position. Loader, load heat round. Driver, reverse 30 yards. Dehumanizing but necessary. Couldn't afford to care. Caring got you killed. The only constant was Jennings, my gunner. He stayed functional, stayed professional. Never broke, never quit. I don't know how he did it. Maybe he was broken already and just didn't show it. By September 1st, we'd been fighting for 2 weeks straight. No breaks, no rest, just constant combat. The line held, but barely. We'd given ground in some places, taken it back in others. Net result, stalemate. We couldn't push them back. They couldn't break through. But we were dying, slowly, attrition. Every day we lost men we couldn't replace, lost equipment we couldn't repair, used ammunition we couldn't resupply. The perimeter was shrinking, not from enemy action, but from exhaustion. We were being ground down, and the North Koreans were in the same boat. They were taking casualties too, losing tanks too. Their supply lines were stretched. Their troops were exhausted. But they kept coming, kept attacking, kept dying. Two armies bleeding each other to death over a perimeter that didn't seem worth the cost. Early September, the attacks intensified. The North Koreans knew something we didn't know yet, that MacArthur was planning an amphibious landing at Incheon. They needed to break through the Pusan perimeter before that landing happened. Needed to finish us off. They threw everything at us, everything they had left. Tank attacks, infantry assaults, artillery bombardments, day and night. No let up, no pause, just constant pressure. September 3rd, they broke through on our left flank, overran the infantry positions, pushed a corridor through the line. We had to fall back, re-establish a new defensive line. Lost 5 miles of ground in one day. My tank and one other, all that was left of my platoon, got cut off, separated from the main line, surrounded by North Korean infantry. We fought our way out, took 3 hours, used up all our ammunition, lost the other tank when it threw a track and couldn't move. Crew tried to escape. Gunner made it. Rest didn't. Just my tank left. Started the battle with 5 tanks, 25 men. Now down to 1 tank, 4 men. Me, Jennings, a driver whose name I can't remember, a loader I'd stopped trying to know. They attached us to a different unit, different sector. Same mission. Hold the line. Stop the North Koreans. Don't let them through. We fought through the first week of September, each day the same, each day thinking this might be the day the line breaks, the day we lose, the day we die. On September 10th, rumors started spreading. Something was happening, something big. The officers wouldn't say what, but you could see it in their faces. Hope. First time I'd seen hope in weeks. September 15th, we got word. Incheon. MacArthur had landed at Incheon, behind North Korean lines, cut their supply routes. The North Koreans were trapped between us at Pusan and the Incheon forces in their rear. The North Korean attacks stopped, not immediately, but within a day. They started pulling back, not retreating, fighting withdrawal, trying to escape the trap, trying to get back north before we crushed them. September 16th, we broke out of the perimeter, started pushing north, roles reversed. Now we were advancing, they were defending. We pushed through their defensive lines, scattered their forces, drove them back. My tank, last survivor of my original platoon, led the advance in our sector. We'd held the longest, lost the most, earned the right to be first out. We pushed north through September, retook Daegu, retook Seoul, crossed the 38th parallel, drove the North Koreans back to where they started, back further, into North Korea itself. Easy victories now. The North Korean army was broken, shattered, running. We'd destroyed their supply lines, killed their best troops, broken their will to fight. They couldn't stop us. By October, we were pushing toward the Yalu River, the Chinese border. Victory in sight. The war almost over. We'd done it. Held the Pusan perimeter, broke out. Won. Except we hadn't won. Not yet. The Chinese were watching, waiting, building up forces across the border. We didn't know it yet, or the intelligence people knew, but nobody told us. But we were driving into a trap. But that's October. That's now. This story is about August and September, about the Pusan perimeter, about holding the line when holding the line seemed impossible. They pulled us off the line in late September for maintenance and refit. My tank had been in continuous combat for 6 weeks. The engine was shot. The transmission was failing. The gun had fired so many rounds, the barrel was wearing out. It needed complete overhaul. So did I. I looked at myself in a mirror, first time in weeks. Didn't recognize the face looking back. Hollow eyes, gaunt cheeks. Something missing that used to be there. I was 31 years old. Looked 50. The crew wasn't much better. Jennings had developed a twitch. His hands would shake when he wasn't actively working. The loader, turned out his name was Roberts, barely spoke. Just did his job in silence. The driver had nightmares so bad they had to sedate him to sleep. We'd held the line, survived. But the cost was everything. They gave us 3 days. 3 days off the line before we had to go back. 3 days to sleep, eat real food, pretend to be human again. Wasn't enough. Would never be enough. But it was all they could give us. I tried to write letters home, to my wife in Detroit, to my parents. Tried to explain what we'd been through, what it had been like. The words wouldn't come. How do you explain Pusan to people who'd never been there? How do you make them understand? You can't. So I wrote generic things. I'm fine. We're winning now. Might be home soon. Left out everything real, everything that mattered. A chaplain came around, wanted to talk, wanted to help us process what we'd experienced. I didn't talk to him. What could he say? What comfort could he offer? We'd done what needed to be done. We'd killed men, watched friends die, held the line at the cost of our humanity. No words could fix that. They brought in replacement tanks, new M26s fresh from the States. They assigned me a new platoon, 5 tanks, new crews, kids who'd trained stateside, never seen combat, eager, ready, looking at me like I was some kind of hero. I wanted to tell them I wasn't a hero, that there were no heroes at Pusan, just survivors, just men who did terrible things because the alternative was worse. But I didn't tell them. They'd find out soon enough. We went back to the line on October 1st, pushing north now, not defending. Different mission, but same war. The North Koreans were broken, but not finished. Still fighting, still dying, still killing us. The fighting in October was different from August, more mobile, more fluid. We'd advance, they'd retreat. We'd take a town, they'd counterattack, back and forth, but always moving north, always pushing, easier than Pusan. They didn't have the numbers anymore, didn't have the supplies, didn't have the will. We were winning. You could feel it. But winning didn't erase what we'd been through, didn't heal the wounds, didn't bring back the dead. We'd held Pusan, we'd won the battle, but we'd lost something in the winning, something that couldn't be recovered. I think about the guys from my original platoon. Morrison, killed in the first day. The crews who died when their tanks were destroyed. The infantry we'd fought alongside. Most of them dead now. Or wounded so badly they'd never fight again. I think about the North Koreans we'd killed, thousands of them. Tank crews burning alive in their T-34s, infantry cut down by machine gun fire, wounded we couldn't help, bodies we left unburied. They were enemies, communists, invaders, but they were also men, soldiers doing their jobs, dying for causes they probably didn't fully understand. War makes enemies out of people who'd never be enemies otherwise. Makes killers out of men who just want to go home. Makes necessary the unnecessary. Makes normal the abnormal. I'm writing this in mid-October 1950. 2 months since Pusan. 6 weeks since we broke out. The war's still going. We're still pushing north, still fighting, still dying. But the crisis is over. The desperate defense. The last stand. We held the line. We survived. Korea is saved. democracy preserved, communism stopped. That's what they tell us. That's what it means in the big picture. Strategic victory, political success, military triumph. On the ground, it doesn't feel like triumph. Feels like we survived something that should have killed us. Feels like we paid more than the victory was worth. I commanded a tank platoon at Pusan. Started with 5 tanks, 25 men. By the time we broke out, I had 1 tank and 4 men. The rest were casualties. Dead, wounded, broken. 80% casualty rate. We held the line, did our job, stopped the North Korean advance. But the cost was 21 men. 21 men under my command who didn't make it. 21 sets of families who got telegrams. 21 futures that ended in a perimeter in Korea that most Americans couldn't find on a map. Was it worth it? I don't know. Can't know. All I know is we did what we were ordered to do. Held the line. Survived. That's all you can ask of soldiers. The nightmares come every night now. Not as bad as Pusan. Nothing could be as bad as Pusan. But they come. I'm back in the tank. North Koreans attacking. Tanks exploding. Men dying. Can't wake up. Can't escape. Just relive it over and over. The other guys are the same. Jennings won't talk about it. Just does his job. Maintains his equipment. Keeps his head down. The replacements don't understand. They see the combat now. The advancing. The winning. They don't know what it was like in August. What it cost to get here. They're sending us toward the Yalu River, the Chinese border. We'll be there in a few weeks at this rate. Then what? Cross into China? End the war? Go home? I don't know. Nobody knows. We just follow orders, do our jobs, try to survive another day. There's talk of home by Christmas. MacArthur says the war's almost over. Says we've broken the North Korean army. Says victory is assured. I've heard that before. Over by Christmas. They said that in other wars. Didn't work out that way. But maybe this time it's true. Maybe we will be home by Christmas. Maybe this war will end like they say it will. Quick, clean, victorious. I don't believe it. Can't believe it. Learned at Pusan that nothing is quick or clean. Everything costs. Everything bleeds. Everything takes more than you think you have to give. My wife writes that she's planning a welcome home party. Says everyone's proud of me. Wants to hear all about my experiences in Korea. Wants me to tell stories about the war. I won't tell her about Pusan. Won't tell her about the men who died. Won't tell her about the heat and the smell and the constant fear. Won't tell her about what I became in that perimeter. I'll tell her I'm fine, that we won, that I did my duty, that I'm the same man who left Detroit in July. All lies, but necessary lies. She doesn't need to know the truth. Nobody does. The truth is that Pusan changed me, changed all of us. We went into that perimeter as soldiers, came out as something else, survivors maybe. But survival cost us parts of ourselves we'll never get back. I look at my hands and see a tank commander's hands, scarred, calloused, stained. These hands fought at Pusan, operated the controls that killed hundreds of North Koreans. These hands helped hold the line. I close my eyes and I'm back there, back in August, back in the heat and the fear, back watching tanks explode and men die. It's only been 2 months. The memories are still fresh, still raw, still bleeding. How long until they fade? Years, decades, never? I don't know. Can't imagine a time when I won't see those images, won't hear those sounds, won't feel that fear. We were never supposed to lose. That's what they told us. Modern American Army. Best equipment. Superior training. We'd push the North Koreans back, restore South Korea, go home. Easy. It wasn't easy. It was hell. We nearly lost everything. The Pusan perimeter was the closest we came to losing the war, to losing Korea, to losing the fight against communism in Asia. But we held Against impossible odds, with inadequate supplies, with exhausted troops, we held. We didn't break, we didn't run. We stood and fought and died, and somehow, impossibly, we held the line. That's what Pusan was. That's what it means. Not the strategic importance, not the political significance, but the simple fact that we held when holding seemed impossible. This is October 1950, 2 months after Pusan, 6 weeks after we broke out, the immediate aftermath, before time has had a chance to dull the pain, before distance has had a chance to soften the memories. This is raw. This is real. We held the line at Pusan. We survived. We're still fighting, still trying to finish what we started, still trying to go home. But part of us will never leave that perimeter. Part of us died there, in the heat and the fear and the blood. That part will stay in Korea forever, holding a line that no longer exists, fighting a battle that's already won. We were never supposed to lose, and we didn't lose. We held. We survived. We won. But victory doesn't feel like we thought it would. Just feels like we're still alive when we probably shouldn't be. Just feels like we survived something that took more from us than we had to give. The war continues. We push north. We fight. We survive. One day at a time. That's all we can do. That's all anyone can ask. But Pusan will stay with us, forever, in our nightmares, in our memories, in the parts of ourselves we left in that perimeter, fighting to hold a line against an enemy that wouldn't quit. We held the line. That's what matters. We held. And the cost of holding will haunt us for the rest of our lives.